Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. Hey friends, it's Thursday, which means it's another edition of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Today is episode 20, and it's a Turquoise Talk edition. And I'm really excited for you to meet Tiffany Wynn. Tiffany is the wife, girl mom, and reformed people pleaser who built a multiple six-figure network marketing empire and coaching business by capitalizing on one thing: confidence. Tiffany took her ambition, and instead of letting her business work her, she created soul systems. I love that. Soul systems that connected to her soul goals so she could ditch the hustle, amen, the grind for grit and grace, and build a business that not only filled her bank account, but her heart, soul, and purpose too. Who doesn't want that? That same girl swore she was unlikable, now leads a team of over 3,500 women doing millions of dollars in sales a year. She got bold with her belief, got fierce with her faith, and started taking audacious, aligned action. And she's now on mission to show other women who may be doubting their potential or dimming their light how they can glow up, show up, and blow up too. Love this. Y'all are going to love this episode. Get your pen and your paper ready, and let's do this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. I'm so excited about today's episode because we are doing another Turquoise Talk. And I love Turquoise Talk episodes because it gives me and you the opportunity to meet other mompreneurs and how they do business, how they wear all the hats that we wear as mompreneurs and keep their sanity, keep their joy and their purpose in their mission in both of those roles. And so I'm so excited about my guest today, Tiffany Wynn, who is a confidence coach. She also has her own podcast. So if you want to go check out her podcast, it's called Cash In on Confidence. Is that right, Tiffany? Yeah. Cash In on Confidence, which I love that name. And she's a top leader also with her network marketing company. And so I'm just so excited and honored that you were on the podcast today. So tell me a little bit about you, Tiffany.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am a girl mama of two littles. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. So both of my parents were entrepreneurs growing up. And so that was kind of something that I've known for a long time that I wanted. I grew up having a mom who could come to my school plays in the middle of the day and who could drop off lunch, if I wanted it, or I could call her in the middle of the day and be like, I forgot my project at home, and she'd be able to run it up to the school for me. And so just having that, it was something that I kind of just knew from the beginning that I was going to find a way to find that harmony between being a mom, which is one of the things I'm most passionate about in life, and also running a business, which is also something that I'm super passionate about. I have been ambitious, I feel like, since birth. And so I knew that just being a stay-at-home mom was not going to give me the fulfillment that I really need. I feel like I really need something that is just mine and that I can work towards. And so I have really found that in, having my own business with network marketing, and I also do coaching. So that has been just an incredible journey, going from motherhood and building my business at the same time that I'm raising babies. So I like to say that I'm raising a business and raising babies at the same time. And it is a wild ride, but I absolutely love it. And it's just this journey that I find so much joy and fulfillment in.
And, it's the flexibility, that comes along with it. I mean, you mentioned that, seeing your mom, and both of your parents were entrepreneurs. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom was not. She worked 9 to 5 and she still had dinner on the table at 6 o'clock. I mean, every night. I mean, like a full course dinner. And I would say to her, even today, I'm like, Mom, I can't do that. And I have the flexibility to make dinner whenever I want to make it. And so I had both, worlds to kind of look at. And I remember thinking that I would always work for someone else. But I loved the idea and the flexibility, especially when, I had my first son, Lucas. I remember sitting in my husband's lap, just crying, going, I can't leave him. I don't want to leave him. And I'm like you, though, I'm ambitious. And so I knew there was more to, just being the mom that I love to be. There was something else out there for me. And so thankfully there is the amazing opportunities out there for us to be mompreneurs, and whether it is network marketing or starting your own boutique or, whatever coaching business, we have those opportunities. So I love hearing your story and kind of how it's just in you. I mean, it was just a part of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually, before I had my girls, I was a teacher. And while I loved just being able to make an impact in that way, it was very demanding. It was very overwhelming. It was very draining. And I remember when I found out that I was pregnant with our daughter, I told my husband, I was like, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to be the mom that I want to be for our family and our kids that we're about to have, and be a teacher at the same time. I'm like, I really need to draw the line right here. And so I had my daughter in May and put in my letter of resignation as a teacher, and was like, just give me some time. Like, if you just trust me, like, I will make this happen. And I just told my husband, and those first few years were rough. Those first few years of growing that business while I was a new mom, it was rough, but I would go back and do it 100 times over to know what the outcome is and what that's going to mean for our family moving forward. It's just something that I would never trade again. And I'm so happy that I did have that support from my husband to be able to walk away from that full-time, comfortable, stable, income that was bringing in that honestly really needed. We weren't a single income family kind of family, and we weren't going to be able to make it on just my husband's salary alone. And so we really did need my income as well. And now we're at the point where, I'm able to make multiple 6 figures from home, with a baby on my hip and doing all the things. And it's not like Instagram glorious, beautiful, like picturesque, but it is so much fun. And it's like, I can't imagine doing anything else now at this point.
Right. Well, and 2 things that came up while you were talking. Number one is the husband, and the support of your husband, and just the way you communicated your needs. And that's something that's really, I'm very passionate about when I'm coaching the women that I coach, is, being able to speak your needs and really being able to say that I'm not happy, instead of living with this mask on your face and just doing because that's what you see everyone else doing. And you're supposed to be this mom or supposed to be this woman. And so I know there are a lot of women, whether they have a coaching business or they're in network marketing or direct selling, they don't have that support from their husband or from their mom or from their friends. But specifically to your husband, since you were able to go to him, has he always been supportive? And if he hasn't, or I know you've talked with them before, but how do you help them get that from their husband, like to get that support?
So, my husband, I like to say that he wasn't unsupportive, but he also wasn't like all in either. So I know that there are a lot of like women whose husbands will be like their hand and feet and do all the things and like jump in. I think for my husband, he really needed to see the result to really like understand that I wasn't just like that this was a real thing, that I was really working for this. Like he needed to actually see it to get in and understand it. But when I went to him and told him that I really needed this, it was something that I told him, like, if you want to have us to have like a happy home, and like, if you want our kids to really have the mom that they deserve, like I need to leave this job. Like, I know, I mean, I was literally having panic attacks every Sunday night, thinking about having to go back to work on Monday because I was so overwhelmed with all the added things that they were piling on our plates every day. And I mean, and it wasn't my students at all. I love that part of it, but it was all those outside things. And I was just like, I just I can't do this. I just knew that like going into motherhood and having a newborn baby and trying to balance that too, trying to add that on, it was not going to be a pretty sight. And so I just had to like paint that picture to him of what that was going to look like for our family and what that was going to look like, the impact that that was going to have on our daughter and the mom that she was going to get coming home from work every night was going to be a mom who was burnt out and worn out and, you know, depressed and sad and all those negative, not great feelings. And so I had to paint that picture for him. And then I just told him, like, just give me a chance to make this work. And worst case scenario, I'll go back to work if we have to.
Right.
Like I'll go back to work, but like, I just really believe that I can make this work.
Well, and I think they feed off your confidence.
Overnight.
I think they feed off of your confidence. If you
absolutely.
that conversation with the confidence that I can make this happen, I can create this lifestyle for our family. It's going to take some time. Like you just were getting ready to say, it's not an overnight success story. It takes time. And, you know, when you treat your business like a business, I think that for my husband, he respected me more and he trusted me more. He didn't just see me playing around with my business. I was treating it like a business, and they want you to show them the money. I'm sorry. They just do.
They do. Yeah. I just really feel like men are analytical in that way where they need to see the result to really understand. And so I had to show my husband that like, I'm not just doing this for fun. I'm not just like on my phone playing games. Like I'm really working and I'm really actively building this business. And so I kind of would just bring him in. And there were a lot of times where, you know, I had to bring my daughters in whenever I was doing a team call or a coaching session or things like that, because I had to do both. I had to be the mom and the business person and all the things. And as my business has grown, I've been able to kind of pull some of those things away. So like we have a housekeeper now, which is something that originally like I felt so guilty about. You know, it was something that I like at first I was like, oh my gosh, like if I'm going to be a work at home mom, I should be able to, you know, I should be able to do it all. And I felt really guilty about feeling like I needed that extra help and those extra hands. And now I'm like, and my husband was kind of a part of that. Like I kind of felt like I would disappoint him.
Right.
Since I'm home now, like I should be able to do the things, like I should be able to be the mom and the housekeeper and the teacher for the girls. And like, you know, all the things that we think in our heads, these made up standards of what we think we're supposed to be. So hiring that housekeeper at first it was like the first couple of times I did it while he was at work. So he wouldn't even know.
It's kind of like hiding your Amazon packages.
Come home to a beautiful, clean house. And I'm like, yeah. Right. And so eventually I'm like, look, I need help around here. Like I'm growing this business. We're starting to have some success here. Like if I want to continue to see growth in this business, then I'm going to need some help. Like, and I think that also helped him to see that like, this is a business for me. Right. He gets to leave the house and go to work for his job. Right. I'm working too. It's just, I don't leave. Like I don't leave the house to do it. Like I'm at home.
You're working the same hours.
But I'm working.
You're working the same hours. I remember having to explain that to my kids. I would say, just because you see me home, it doesn't mean that I'm not working just like your father is, who is at his business. We're both putting in the same amount of time. You just see me here all day. So you think I'm supposed to be your playmate all day long.
Yes.
You know?
At your beck and call.
Yes. And I think, being able to communicate that to both, your husband and to your kids.
Absolutely. My older daughter, I think, is finally starting to get it now that when mommy goes into my office, like I am working and I'm not just home. And so now she'll like peek her head, like she'll open the door quietly to my office and peek her head in. And if she sees that I'm like doing a call or recording a podcast or like, anything like that, then she'll like quietly like step away and close the door. When before she just like bust in here like, mommy, I need some milk, or I want a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, like I'm doing something, I'm at work, but she didn't understand that because I'm home. Right. And and she's only 4. And so now I think she's finally starting to understand like, okay, mommy is at home, but she's working. Like this is what she does for work. And that was kind of something that I had to explain to her too. Like daddy leaves when he goes to work. Mommy does the same thing, but I do it at home, you know? And so
well, the day will come where she'll slide a sweet little note under the door while you're doing a team call that'll say good night, mommy. Like my son did that several times, and I would open the door and that note would be there, and it just would melt your heart. It just made you realize that they got it, you know, and they understood it, and they didn't take it as, you know, fighting time with them. They really understood it. And it took me repeating over and over and over it again. Like the things we're able to do are because mommy works and because daddy works, and just really kind of explain those to you. But I mean, I've saved those notes because they were just the most precious moments for me as a mompreneur, is to read a little note from my boys. So you mentioned earlier just a little bit about, you know, one of the reasons you wanted to transition was you were worried about burnout. And I think burnout exists regardless of whether you're working a 9 to 5 or you're, you know, work from home mom. So have you personally experienced burnout? And if you have, what did you do to kind of recuperate or recover from it?
Oh, for sure. Yes, absolutely. I think burnout comes from made up expectations. I talk about this with my team a lot. We put these made up expectations on ourselves of all the things we're supposed to be and do and have. And when we feel like we're not measuring up to those things and we keep going and going and going and going, that's what leads to burnout. And so for me, it came down to really just taking a step back and looking at, okay, what expectations do I really have for myself? You know, as a mom, what expectations do I have? Like, is cooking dinner every single night like my mom did. Like my mom was like you. She had dinner on the table every night, cooked 3 meals a day. I mean, of course she worked from home, but like she was that. And that was the expectation that I came into marriage and motherhood with, that in order to be a good mom, in order to be a good wife, dinner needs to be homemade, fresh, hot on the table at 5 p.m. every day, or
all the food groups.
Right? Like, yes, exactly. And so for me, it came down to like, okay, is that someone else's expectation that I picked up, or is that my own? Like, is that really a valuable thing for me, or is it for someone else? And for me, like, I'm okay with DoorDashing a couple of times a week. Right. I'm okay with ordering in, you know, some nights, and, you know, having a home cooked dinner is not like very high on my top priority list. And so once I released that expectation, it helped me from doing a bunch of things that I felt like I needed to do in order to meet some made up standard or some made up measurement that really doesn't matter. And so so really going back to that confidence, it gave me the confidence to, you know, set new rules for myself, you know? And so I just really pulled back and I looked at, you know, what are my expectations for motherhood? What are my expectations for business? And once I saw that, I would realize how many things I was doing that I was like, this really doesn't matter to me very much. Like this really doesn't matter to me. It doesn't really matter to my family. It was some made up rule that I have been living by, and I don't really have to do it anymore. And once I did that, it relieved so much of the burnout because I was no longer doing things that didn't bring me joy or that were unnecessary. And I could really focus on the things that mattered.
Right. Yeah.
Keep me refueled.
Right. And, you know, those expectations, again, a lot of times, I know for me, it was sitting down and having a conversation with my kids and just asking them, like, is it really important to you that I'm at every practice and that I'm, you know, at every game and that we have a home cooked meal every single night? And they were like, no. I mean, like that was totally me putting it on myself. And that was one of the most freeing things for me, was actually asking them, what's important to you? And it was like, none of the things that I thought were important to them were really important to them.
Yes.
So like you said,
so
it's
crazy.
Like freedom after that.
Right.
You know?
A weight lifted off your shoulders. Completely. And it's like, oh, I can breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. And that brings in the mom guilt. when you have those expectations or you're seeing what other moms are doing. And I'm sure you've experienced some type of mom guilt. I mean, it's kind of like it comes in waves, depending on the season of life that you're in. But would you say your confidence and just the systems and things you've put in place have really helped you to kind of curb any mom guilt, or, when you're working, you're not feeling guilty that you're not with your kids. And when you're with your kids, you're not feeling guilty that you're not working. Like it's
100%, 100%. Yeah. I mean, and when I first started coaching, it was more so around motherhood, actually. Mm-hmm. And I more so coached moms on the exact thing, on not feeling that mom guilt for whatever reason. I mean, there are 101 things that we can feel mom guilt about, whether you breastfeed or bottle feed, or whether you sleep train or you don't, or just all the things. There's 101 things that can bring up mom guilt. And so just having those expectations and knowing what and this is something that I use in my business, I call them soul systems, but what is important to you from your soul, and just taking a look at what are your end goals for your life and your business? What are important to you? What are your strengths? What do you shine at? And creating systems for your life and business that revolve around that, rather than looking at what Susie is doing across the street or Sarah on Instagram is doing and measuring yourself up to that. It allows you to just really hone in on your strengths, what your goals are. Like we're looking at what other people are doing and we're measuring ourselves up to these people when we don't know their full story. Two, we all have special gifts and talents that are unique to us. So while my mom was like the OG Pinterest mom before Pinterest even existed and was doing all the cute, class party stuff. And I felt really guilty whenever I had my kids that I'm Valentine's Day party for my daughter's little Mother's Day out preschool. And it's the morning of, and I'm running through the Target, trying to find the little something to drop in her baggies. And I'm oh my gosh, I'm such a terrible mom. But if I was comparing myself to what, someone else is doing that just made the most beautiful homemade cookies for their daughter's class or whatever, then I would feel really bad. But that's just not my strength. And I'm okay with that. And so it's just coming down to figuring out, what are your strengths? What are your end goals? Do I really care if my daughter's 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in her class have homemade cookies? Is that my end goal? No. Do I really care if I have the most beautiful Instagram photo of cookies that I made for my daughter's class? No, that's not important to me. But do I care that she knows that mommy was working the night before so that we could go to Disney World for her 5th birthday? That is what matters to me. That's the end goal for me, those kinds of things and those experiences and that I'm going to be able to offer her. And so just knowing what those end goals are and looking at it and saying so-and-so might be, shining in this area, but I can shine in this area, right? I can do this thing and kill it. And just really honing in on your strengths and having confidence in that and standing firm in that, it'll kind of erase the need for mom guilt and on, the things that you feel like you're lacking in.
Right. Well, and I feel I know that that's the problem, is most of us don't slow down long enough to even do that self-reflection on, number one, what do I really want? What kind of marriage do I want? What kind of business do I want? What kind of parent do I want to be? What kind of friend do I want to be? And really put pen to paper on that. And then, what are my boundaries around what I want? And then what is going to help me to, like you said, kind of shine through with the gifts that I've been given to use. And so we just kind of go with the wind and go with what everybody else is doing or what's trending or, whatever looks the part. We kind of fall into that because we haven't clearly defined for ourselves what we want, how we want to show up and how we want to be remembered. That's one of the things I always think of whether I'm walking into a new room and trying, meeting new women, or whether I'm showing up as a mom. How do I want to show up and how do I want to be remembered? And I'm not perfect. I have some really bad days. There are days that, I yell at the kids probably. But it's not about perfection. It's about progress. And when you take time to slow down and really evaluate kind of where you are, that really kind of gives you that confidence to be able to set those boundaries, to set those expectations or release those expectations.
For sure. Yeah, that's actually the very first step that I take my clients through and my soul systems is that reflection, is putting that pen to paper. And I have journaling prompts where I have them really reflect on, what do I really want? What, at the end of the day, what is it that I actually want? And not on just a surface level, like, oh, I want to hit, superstar diamond,
right.
Whatever in your business, or I want to make $5,000 a month, or all those things. Like, those are all surface level things. Like, no, what is that $5,000 a month going to mean for you and your family? Why do you want to make that? And when you like get deeper and peel back those layers, you get to see like, where is that underlying desire coming from? Is that because that extra $5,000 will allow you to, start saving so that you can buy the house in the country where you'll be able to like get your kids horses because they love horses, or, just like really digging deeper into what that actually means. Because when it's just like $5,000, it doesn't really have a meaning. You got to put some meaning behind that thing, and it helps you to connect to it that much deeper. And so that's one of the very first things that I have my soul systems clients do, is because once you know that, then you can know, okay, what are the next things I need to do to actually get to that thing, and you apply that to everything. You can apply that to being a mom. Like, what do I really want as a mom? Like, do I really want my kids to be, fulfilled, or do I want them to be, ambitious or whatever, and just really figuring out, okay, now what do I need to do to lead them in that direction?
Right. Right. And this is a perfect time of year to kind of really reflect on those things. And you don't have to wait to the first of the year to do it. You can do it, do it right now. And I think, Tiffany and I both would encourage those of you that are listening, like, don't wait, don't live another day in mayhem or chaos or unfulfillment, or, one of the words that I keep coming back to for myself is I want to experience peace. Like, I want to feel peace and I want to feel purposeful in what I'm doing. And if it's taking me away from that, if it's not getting me closer to those goals, it's taking me further away from those. So not only do you have to decide what you want, you have to decide what you're willing to let go of too, because we can't do it all. We can, but we shouldn't.
We shouldn't. Right. Yes.
We can, but we'll be burnt out. So you have to be able to let go of some things too. First being the expectation, but there are some tangible things and even people that are not going to go where you're going next. And you got to be willing to kind of let them go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, I think of it as a constant evolution of you. And I always say that, like, as you grow in life, you're going to level up in different areas. There's going to be different levels of you as you evolve and as you grow and expand in life. And so where you are right now is not going to be where you might be a year from now. I know, in growing my network marketing business, the Tiffany that started that business with my current company when I first started almost 2 years ago is a completely different Tiffany than who I am now. I've had to grow and evolve as my team grew and expanded. And now at 3,500 women, like, I would have been able to lead a team of 3,500 women when I first signed up and started that company, with that company. I had to grow and expand. And so I think a lot of times we look so far ahead and we freak ourselves out because we're like, well, if I want this, oh my gosh, I'm not even close to that. Right. So the person who's like, I want to start making $5,000 extra a month or whatever. And they're like, I'm not even close to that. I'm barely making 200. And you freak yourself out because it seems so far away. But if you look at it, you're like, okay, you're going to expand into that. You're going to grow into that. And I think of it like your confidence will expand with you. So if that 5,000 feels too big, start where you can feel confident and then expand from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a completely different person. I mean, I'm true to my core, but I mean, when I first started my business 15 years ago, I would have never believed that I was a leader. I mean, that just that was not even in my mindset at all. So it definitely is a process and a journey, and you just have to take your next step. And I believe everybody has the next step, whether that's in motherhood or parenting, in your business. And we all have a responsibility to take that next step. Our responsibility. We can't wait for someone else to push us up that way and wait for someone else to approve and affirm us. Like, we have to be able to learn to take that responsibility to do that for ourselves and find the confidence in doing and not working out, right? We either win or we learn. And that's something that as women, we've got to embrace because we see ourselves as failures. And, failure is just part of the process. Doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means what you just did didn't work. So you know what? Try something else.
Exactly. That's so true. And I think as women, we live in a world that is so masculine focused, like so much, especially in entrepreneurship. It is very much a masculine space, right, where we are like told all the ways to build a business with this masculine mindset and energy, right, where it's like hustle and grind and, right, yeah, like go hard, blah, blah, blah. And while like, yes, all those things are great. And like, I absolutely believe you should put effort and right, and energy and grit into your business. But at the same time, a mom of two is going to look completely different building a business than a man who, has the ability to go off and do things that a mother would not. And so just really tapping into our feminine energy and looking at, okay, like what I'm doing is going to have to look different than what it might look like for someone else. Right. So like, there have been nights where I really don't want to spend time away from my kids right now. Like I've been working every night. Like I'm going to cancel this call I have and I'm going to spend time with my kids, and I might have to do that call tomorrow night, or I'm going to not take any calls, do any one-on-ones today because I want to have a day focused strictly on my kids. Whereas masculine energy would see something like that and be like, oh, you're such a wimp. Like you're wussing out. You're never going to be able to build a business if you're doing stuff like that. But for me, I'm like, no, like that is the energy that I need to drive and build my business and find that harmony in motherhood and entrepreneurship.
Because what's it all worth if at the end of the day you're you have all this success and you've sacrificed yourself and your family on the altar of that success. You reach the top, whatever your top is, and you look back and your family is no longer there, or they're not respecting you, or you don't even know who you are anymore. And so that
happens so much.
That's what I've seen over the years, and why I became so passionate about coaching and helping women to reverse the burnout or prevent the burnout, come out of the burnout, whatever, and really helping them to make themselves a priority without feeling guilty, is because I've seen so many women, whether it be at my parties or the women that I've supported on my team, just kind of have that zombie look, and they're just like, they don't even know who they are anymore.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing worth that.
No. And it's like, and I think so often we get involved in entrepreneurship as women for our families. Like we start these things because we're like, I just want to do this for my kids and I want to create this legacy for them and blah, blah, blah. But then we get caught up in that hustle, that masculine, where we're going. And at the end of the day, we've left our kids behind and they're no longer the reason that we're doing the things. And we're, ignoring them because we're on the phone 24/7, or we're doing all these things. And it's just like, we got to just pull back and look at, how are we going to run these businesses in a way that values both, the business and our families. And I absolutely believe there is a way to have harmony. I don't believe there is a such thing as balance, but I absolutely believe there is a way to have harmony between the two and to really like merge them and have this beautiful immersion of life and business. And it really comes down to looking at what things work for you. And it's going to look different for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we overcomplicate that process. Like, we've kind of said similar things all throughout this podcast, and we overcomplicate it instead of just like slowing down. We don't want to take the time to really think through things. And, we just want to keep hustling. That's our default. If you are a determined woman, like the default is to hustle.
Yep.
Not to slow down. And so that's why I know for me, I need the accountability to slow down, and more so than I do to get to work. Like, you don't have to tell me to get to work. I'm a worker for sure. And I believe in the work, but not at the sacrifice of my own self-care and my own self-worth and for my kids. And I've learned the hard way, that way. And that's why I'm so passionate to kind of help other women not go through some of the same things that I went through. So of all your accomplishments, what would you say you're most proud of right now?
Oh man. I think I would have to say I'm most proud of where I'm at right now in my life and business, which is, I really just feel like I've gotten to this place where I am just so authentic about the way I do things. There was a point where showing up in my business, I felt like I had to be someone different than who I really am, and do things differently than what I really wanted, because I felt like that was the only way that I was going to be liked, or that I was going to be respected or accepted. And I've just really done away with all of that. And I'm just really right now, so just completely 100% authentic in who I am, how I'm showing up, the things that I'm doing. Like I am just very, like, I used to be on Instagram all day, and I just was like going in that hustle mindset kind of really. And I've just really pulled back from that and just really started to build my business in a much more aligned way with where I am right now in life, having two very little ones who, are starting to get into activities and things like that. And so I think I'm just really proud of the accomplishment that I've had in continuing to see success in my business while doing things my own way. And just doing them completely how I feel like is best for me in this moment. And it's still bringing me success and progress in my life and business, but staying true to what my soul goals are.
Right. I love that. I love the whole soul goals and soul systems. So was there like a turning point for you that you were like, I'm not doing that anymore? Like I want to change.
Yeah. So
that happened, or just a turning point that you had to pivot,
or you for sure. So I think it really happened when I first started in this business. I with my current company, I just found out I was pregnant with our second daughter, and I just went all in. It was at the start of the pandemic. My husband's income got cut. I kind of panicked a little bit, and I was like, I'm going to make this business work. I'm going hard. I'm going all in. And so I hustled. And then kind of towards the end of last year, I got to this place where I was kind of like, I had kind of reached that burnout place. And I was experiencing some PPD, postpartum depression, and really just kind of like, I had the success. I mean, fast success. Was already starting to make, the 5-figure monthly paychecks with that company, bringing on woman after woman after woman onto my team. It was amazing. And that felt incredible. But inside I was like, I am slowly dying inside.
Yeah. Dying.
Yeah. Slowly dying inside. And I could see where
alert. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I could see where my marriage was starting to get shaky too, because my husband was getting frustrated that, I was doing all these things and kind of just putting family on the back burner. And it really took me getting to the place where I was like, where I could see it for myself. Because I think sometimes everyone else sees it before we do. And so when I finally saw it for myself, I was like, oh no, like, this is not why I started this. This is not why I started doing this. And so I had to completely just pull back. And that's kind of where the soul systems came from. And it was the exact process that I walked myself through in getting to where I am, looking at, all right, what do I actually really want? And how can I still show up in my business? Because I love the business. I love what I'm doing. I don't want to give that up, but how can I find a way to do this in a way that connects with my soul so that I'm not only having the outward success, which I think is what most of us gravitate to, is those shiny objects that, the rank titles and the income and the paychecks and the trips and the blah, 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 and the car bonuses and blah, 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 all that outward, cool stuff. How can that's all cool and all, and I love it. Like, but how can I make sure that my soul is being fulfilled too? How can I make sure that I'm still getting fulfillment on the inside? And so that's where that soul system came from, is really looking at that for myself and figuring out. And so now I kind of have systems where I make sure that I'm fulfilling my life as a mom, fulfilling my life as a wife, fulfilling those things, those other really important pieces of my life, and not letting those go to the wayside in the process of trying to build this big, massive empire of a business. And it's really allowed me to just be really authentic to that. And I've had to change some of the things that I was doing in my business. And I know that I am doing things completely different than what a lot of like network marketing people would say is the way to do it. Right. And I've just had to be really confident in that. I'm doing this the way that I need to do it and it feels good for me. And that's all that matters.
It is all that matters. Just alignment. And I think when you can show up authentically you and unapologetically you in your business, success follows. It just does. When you're trying to be somebody you're not, or you're in that hustle mode, it's not sustainable. And so, it may last for a little while and you'll get some of those rewards, those tangible rewards. But if your soul is dying, it's just not worth it. So,
100%. And I've experienced that too in my previous company, like rose to the top real quick, but inside I was not being, true to me. Mm-hmm. And I just watched that crumble, crumble like just in the blink of an eye and all gone away. Yeah. And so I just knew that when I got to that place where I was starting to see that repetition, mm-hmm. I was like, nope, not letting that happen again. Nope, not going back
Put
there.
Put the brakes on, sister. Put the brakes on. Yeah.
Yes.
And you start catching yourself sooner, and that's the thing. Like we all have the bad days and we all have those habits, that try to creep back in that are not healthy. But each time I find, at least for me, and what I try to help my clients do as well is just catch it sooner. Just catch it sooner, yep. So it's shortening the window of suffering. It's shortening the window of bad decision making and just catching yourself and then giving yourself grace, in that process.
Absolutely.
So if you had a chance to talk to all the mompreneurs of the world today, and specifically to confidence, since you're a confidence coach, like what would be the one thing you would want them to know?
I would want them to know that you have special, unique gifts, talents, and strengths that only you have, and that the world needs those things from you, and only you can show up the way that you're going to show up to give those things to the world. And when you are looking at what everyone else is doing and feeling like you're not good enough or feeling like you will never be like that person, you're exactly right, because you're not that person and you shouldn't ever try to be that person. When you can stand firm on your strengths, you get to shine your own light the way that only you can. And someone needs your specific light. And when you hold back because you're afraid that you're not good enough or that you don't have what it takes, or whatever reason you're feeling the doubt, the fear, the overwhelm, the uncertainty, all of those emotions that come up when we start to, put ourselves out there in this entrepreneur space, mm-hmm. then you are not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing all of the women who need your light a disservice too. Mm-hmm. And I like to think of us as each being our own individual lighthouses. And, a lighthouse is there to bring those ships that are lost out in the sea in the darkness, mm-hmm. to safety and to where they're supposed to be. And you are that lighthouse for someone out there is out there. They're that lost ship out in the sea, in the darkness, not sure where to go, not sure what to do. And the longer that your light stays dim, the longer you're leaving all of those people out there who need your light to shine bright so they can find you and so that they can get to where they need to be. And so I just want to encourage you to shine your light and shine that light bright enough for those people to find you. Be bold, be audacious, be fierce with it, because you have something special that only you have. And when you know what that thing is, it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing, because you know that what you have to offer that's enough all on its own.
I mean, you just took us to church, Tiffany.
That is like getting into that kind of stuff. Oh, I could just go on and on.
On and on and on. Yes.
We as women just dim our lights, and it breaks my heart to see women showing up and playing small with themselves, because I'm like, oh, girlfriend, if you only knew how incredible you are, then you could just completely change the world. And I think if we all just started showing up that way, I just picture a world where women are confident, mm-hmm. and showing up big and bold and audacious and bright. Like, how incredible of a space would that be for us to live in?
Amazing.
Absolutely.
So I love that. My brain is made up of 90% lyrics. So I'm sitting here thinking about shine bright like a diamond.
Yes. I love it. Like
I'm immediately going to all these songs, and people that have been listening, they know that's why the name of the podcast is called Remixed, because remix your priorities and all of that. But I'm definitely a lyrics girl. So thank you. That was so awesome and such great advice. And I do hope that those of you that have listened will have taken good notes, go back and listen. There were so many great little nuggets all throughout this show. And I always like to end the show just kind of asking you like some of your favorite things. So what is your favorite book? Are you a reader? What's your favorite book?
Oh, yes. My favorite book is, and this is actually a newer book. Let me give you two.
Okay.
My favorite book that I feel like really just made an impact on me when I was first starting my journey was The Big Leap by Gary Hendricks. Oh my gosh, that book was incredible. And most recently, the book She Works His Way.
Oh yeah.
Game changer for me. Absolutely loved it. Really helped me to kind of see where maybe I'm running my business in not an aligned way. And so that was huge for me.
Love. Okay. Let's see. Your favorite quote. Do you have a favorite quote or a favorite verse of scripture or something?
Yeah. Favorite quote. Oh man.
Oh, look.
I know here's my little one. This is her jam too. She comes on and says hi every now and then.
I wish y'all could see the screen right now and see the beautiful little one that I'm looking at right now. It's the beauty of being a mompreneur is you get to have that little one sitting on your lap sometimes. Okay. So what about your favorite like resource or app that you use for your business?
Oh, a resource. I am really loving the Plan app. It's PLANN. It allows you to plan out your social media. I have really wanted to get away from feeling like I have to be on social media all day long. So this has really allowed me to like take just a few minutes, at the beginning of the week to kind of plan things out and allowed me to stay true to, what my soul goals are is, putting my family first and making sure that is a priority for me. And so that app has been so awesome for me in taking time and energy away from the daily, social media hustle.
Right. Cool. All right. Last one. How do you do something just for you? Like what's something that you love that's just for you that you choose you doing?
Oh, I love to get up, and this is going to sound funny because I can't think of a favorite quote or scripture off the top of my head, but I love to wake up early in the morning, get a hot cup of coffee and go journal before the kids wake up and just take some time to myself to just get myself centered, get my mind right, read some scripture, read a little bit of a book or something. That is just my absolute favorite thing to do. And it took a while for me to be able to get there because mornings are not my jam. Like I can stay up until like 2 a.m. working. But now that I have little ones, like I have to actually get up before them if I want to have that time. Yeah. That I absolutely love that. And I think it makes all the difference in the world for me.
It does. The way you start your day is the way you end your day. So I love that. Well, this was great. Tiffany, thank you so much for being on here. And I'm going to put in the show notes any links that Tiffany gives me. I don't know if you have something specifically for like the soul systems that.
Yeah. So I'm actually currently taking just a handful of clients. I'm only taking 5 clients. I just launched our soul system one-on-ones. So if you're interested, you can go to thetiffanyWynn.com/coaching to learn more on that. You can come hang out with me on Instagram. Come hang out with me on Instagram at the Tiffany Wynn and at the Confidence Collective. And I have a Facebook group where I like to hang out. You can go to TiffanyWynnVIP.com to come hang out there. And of course, the podcast, Cash In on Confidence.
Awesome. We'll put all of those in the show notes for everyone. So if you're trying to write all that down, don't worry, it'll be in the show notes. Thank you again so much, Tiffany, for being on here. And I'm glad I got to see your little one. She's precious.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, friends. Well, that's the end of this episode. I look forward to showing up for you on our next episode. And you know that I'm always believing in you. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.